10 signs that parallel universes exist. Number 10. Déjà vu. The French term déjà vu translates to already seen and describes the feeling of having already experienced your current situation. There's no scientific consensus on how or why this happens, with theories ranging from a mistake in our brain's memory system to a glitch in the Matrix. Dr. Michio Kaku suggested in his 2004 book Parallel Worlds that the sensation was in fact a result of parallel universes. The physicists claim that, while there are infinite universes parallel to ours, we can't interact with them due to the atoms of each reality oscillating at their own unique frequencies. Kaku compared this to radio frequencies, which can't all be tuned into at the same time. But he suggested that experiencing a place or situation already experienced in another universe can cause a brief coherence between the two universes. This coherence causes the atoms of each universe to synchronize, and allows the intersection between the two realities, which causes the sensation of déjà vu. Number 9. Cold spot. When the matter in our universe spread out from the Big Bang, the wavelengths of light created by it were expanded, effectively changing the color and temperature of this light, and eventually stretching it to the point where it perceived our sky as black. This created what's referred to as the cosmic microwave background, which maps the creation of our universe according to the Big Bang. While studying the CMB, astronauts discovered the cold spot, spanning 1.8 billion light-years, which is significantly lower in temperature than the CMB model suggests it should be. This area also appears to contain 20% less matter than a structure of its size should, which some scientists have suggested evidence of a parallel universe. Experts from Durham University believe that a parallel universe crashed into ours in what they call quantum entanglement. They compared the effect to a motorway car crash, where the impact was so extreme it pushed energy out of the area, creating the cold spot. If it were true, this would provide the first empirical evidence of the existence of a parallel universe. Number 8. The Mandela effect. Do you remember where you were when Nelson Mandela died? Perhaps you were watching everyone's favorite 90s American comedy Sinbad starred in as a genie, but probably not, because Nelson Mandela didn't die until 2013, years after the film was released. And because that film never existed, or at least not in this universe. The phenomenon, most commonly known as the Mandela effect, has been baffling people worldwide, as groups of hundreds of people all document a shared misremembering of certain events. After finding out that Nelson Mandela hadn't died in prison in the 80s as she had remembered, a woman called Fiona Broome took to the internet and discovered a large community who had the same memory of the South African leader's passing, leading to her creation of MandelaEffect.com. Similarly, an online epidemic broke out when a host of millennials discovered that they hadn't in fact seen a film where the comedian Sinbad played a genie, because that film had never existed. This led hordes of internet theorists to suggest that these events did occur in alternate histories, and the intersection of these alternate realities with our own has implanted these memories into people's heads. And with more examples springing up every day, this theory is quickly gaining traction. Number 7. Artifacts out of this world. Since its discovery in 1936, the London hammer has baffled scientists and sent parallel universe theorists mad. The artifact, found in London, Texas, was a man-made iron hammer consistent with tools being made at the end of the 1800s, but encased in a rock dated 400 million years old. Similar objects have been cropping up around the world for hundreds of years. Some are man-made, but originate from the wrong time or location. But some don't match creation of any known human civilization. In 1990, one strange blue rock discovered in Sierra Leone was even tested at 4 different laboratories around the world, but scientists were unable to find any similarities that it held with any known rock type on the planet. One Dr. Preeti at the GRS Swiss labs even claimed that the rock was unidentifiable after examining a sample. These strange artifacts continue to bemuse experts and lead conspiracists to the idea of more advanced civilizations from other realities interacting with our own and leaving traces of their world behind them. Number 6. Bright spots. Fans of science fiction will be very familiar with the term multiverse, but they may not know that the concept originates from real scientific studies into the concept. The parallel universe interpretation comic books and other media have adopted most closely resembles Hugh Everett III's many-world interpretation of quantum mechanics. The short version of this theory is that occurrences with multiple unpredicted outcomes, such as rolling a dice, correspond to different parallel universes, one for each possible outcome. Given that our observable universe is flat, yes, that's right, flat, take that flat earth theorists, the theoretical physical explanation of this concept is that each of the alternate bubble universes came from the same source, but expanded parallel to one another without interacting. There are exceptions to this, however, evidenced in the bright spots found in the universe's cosmic microwave background in 2015 at the European Space Agency. Dr. Ragnar Ram-Chari from the California Institute of Technology studied this data and found a number of spots where the microwave light was much brighter than it should have been. He suggested these spots were from an early stage of expansion, where these universes had interacted with one another, and one had left evidence of its different atomic makeup on the other. Number 5. Cloud City. On October 7, 2015, thousands of onlookers in the Chinese city of Foshan witnessed what appeared to be a city in the sky, emerging from the clouds. The shape seemed far too angular to be naturally occurring, and most closely resembled a collection of skyscrapers. Even though camera phone footage covered the phenomenon, many were quick to dismiss the event as fake or the product of a complex projection. But when the same apparition was witnessed just days later in the Chinese province of Jiangxi, the claims were taken much more seriously, garnering widespread news coverage. Many have cited these apparitions as evidence of other universes making contact with our own, although given the lack of footage collected, further study into the claims has been hard to carry out, and nothing conclusive has ever been found. Number 4. Black holes. Black holes have always been something of a blind spot in the realms of scientific explanation, given that any data-transmitted vessel that's sent into them has never been seen again. Most assume the technology is destroyed when it enters the hole. But Dr. Stephen Hawking posted a paper in 2016 which suggests that whatever enters a black hole does actually come out, just not in our universe. Based on the law of the conservation of mass, if anything within our universe was destroyed, evidence of its presence should still remain. And this should be shown by evidence of hairs tracing the path of whatever enters the black hole. Hawking notes, however, that these hairs are not in fact present, so the complete disappearance of the equipment doesn't point to its destruction in the hole, but more its complete disappearance from our known universe. Hawking suggested that this could instead suggest a transportation to an alternate parallel universe, stating, "Black holes are not the eternal prisons they were once thought." Number 3. Hadron Collider. Researchers at the CERN Super Collider in Switzerland started looking in 2015 for what they believe will provide evidence of alternate universes. While this evidence is still theoretical as of 2017, the Higgs boson particle was also theoretical for decades until it was discovered in a research facility in 2012, so it should simply be a matter of time. Since 2015, researchers have been carrying out various tests to prove the hypothesis that other universes exist parallel to ours. Although these theoretical universes wouldn't exist in the same 3 physical dimensions as our world, they would instead consist of extra dimensions that we couldn't perceive. Following the discovery of the God particle, Harvard professor of physics Laura Randall suggested that the Hadron Collider could discover particles that could only exist in these extra dimensions. The properties of these particles would prove that they were able to exist if these dimensions existed. In 2016, she stated, "These heavier versions of particles, called Kaluza-Klein states, would have exactly the same properties as standard particles, but with a greater mass." Number 2. Visitor from Taured. As the story goes, on a normal day in 1954, a European plane landed in Haneda Airport in Tokyo, and with it brought one of the strangest commuters the airport has ever seen. Speaking several languages, the man told the Japanese officials that he was visiting for business, and gave them his passport, which told them he was from Taured. The man explained that he was from the fictional European country of Taured, which bordered France and Spain. The passport was visa stamped to confirm his previous visits to Japan, and he also provided a bank statement from the Taured Bank that officials found no evidence of ever having existed. His documents were stored in airport security, and he was held in a guarded hotel room until police could identify him. But when the next morning came, the man from Taured was gone. Because of the mystery surrounding the whole story, it's been hard to verify, and even hard still to explain. But many conspiracists see this as evidence of a traveller going between parallel realities, where an altered European history led to the establishment of the European country of Taured. And number 1, the double slit experiment. The double slit experiment, originally performed by American physicists Clinton Davison and Lester Germer between 1923 and 1927, established the principle of wave-particle duality, but also offered many theorists convincing evidence to support the presence of multiple parallel realities. The experiment follows that if tennis balls were fired at a wall with a single slit in it, then the marks left on the wall behind it would create a line the same shape as the slit, and that the 2 slits would create 2 lines. If the same experiment was carried out with waves, however, then the waves would pass through the slits, but continue to interact with each other on the other side, creating a series of lines along the wall. In theory, electrons should have reacted the same as tennis balls, but instead created a series of lines, suggesting that they were interfering with one another as the waves did. However, when the electrons were fired one at a time so they were unable to interact with one another, they produced the same wave-like pattern. Theoretically, for this to happen, each electron would have to have travelled through each slit simultaneously and interacted with itself on the other side. Interestingly, when researchers set up apparatus to measure the electrons as they passed through the slit, they stopped acting like this and made 2 lines, as tennis balls would. This suggests that while other universes may interact with our own, the equipment we currently have is incapable of successfully observing or measuring this interaction. From this, the study has been proposed as evidence for other realities, which interact with ours in dimensions outside of the 4 that we can detect.